Well, there's a picture of a greyhound, isn't she? That's Cheek Mona, winner of this year's Champion Stakes when trained by Ernie Gaskin. But Cheek Mona, along with a few other dogs that was owned by the prominent owner Stuart Southgate, have now moved to John McGee's Ockenden Yard. Now, we visited John for this month's interview on the Greyhound Month. You can see he's got a schooling track as well. He's been putting a couple of dogs over the hurdles, but not much action on it today because there's been a torrential downpour and it made it rather wet.
Well, with me now is champion trainer from 1988, 89 and 1990, John McGEE, runner-up last year, but numerically head of the table again with 209 winners last year. John, many people don't know too much about your past. I mean, I'm going back a few years now. How did you become involved in greyhound racing?
Born into it. Been involved with him all my life. My father, he taught me everything I knew about him. We had him in Ireland before we came over here. I was a kennel hand to him while he held a licence over here in the early 60s. Then when he gave it up, I'll give the kennel hand licence up. And I decided to go it alone then, but I got refused a licence for in the early, from about 65 till 87, I think it was.
Yeah. Was this a frustrating time for you, being refused all the time? Did you ever think about giving up the game?
No, I was going around the flapping scenes. It was the only way I could make a few bob out of it. I loved the dogs. I had to get a few quid somewhere, you know. Always been involved with them.
Of course, many people remember that you used to work for Fred Wiseman as head lad, and this is how you basically became almost to get your trainer's licence, pushing Mr. Wiseman up the trainer's table with open race winners left, right and centre. So you took up your licence in 1988, a very successful year to start off with, obviously with a Derby winner. But looking back at the past, some of the greyhounds that you've trained, which was the best?
I think Hit the Lid, I think. He came over to me as a raw sapling. I give him a few gallops, qualified him at Canterbury. The dog wasn't running right. I checked him over and I knew there was something wrong. I haven't got x-ray eyes, but with a feeling, everything, I felt all over him. I took him to my vet, Bruce Crow, had the dog x-ray. The dog had a crack in a fibula bone. I left him off 3 months, 3.5 months, giving him treatment and plenty of swimming in it, brought him back and he went straight in the top 8 that broke the track record at Ramsgate, or at Canterbury, sorry. And I said to Fred Smith then, I think we've got a Derby winner here. Then I got issued with my licence in the new year, the January that year. And I said to all the kennel staff here, this dog will win the Derby this year, without a doubt, the way he's progressing. But he had to have treatment all the time, which they found out after the dog left me, that the dog had a cracked fibula bone. As I say, I've got record of it, that the dog went all the way through the Derby.
Yeah.
But I'm not the one to brag about it. In other words, like, he went all the way through the Derby on 3 legs.
Yeah.
As my vet, Bruce Crow, will certify it. He's got the x-ray plates in it. But the dog had a cracked fibula bone. Well, I think there's excuses made when the dog left me, if the dog didn't produce the goods. If the dog has got an injury and he's not treated and they don't know the proper treatment for it, the dog won't perform. I'd say he's one of the best dogs I've had. If he had been 100% sound dog, God only knows what he would have achieved.
Yeah. What about stayers?
Chicita Banana, like, I think it was a training feat in his own to keep her going as long as she did.
Yeah.
And she's a brilliant bitch. She was very unlucky in a couple of big ones. The Sixpence Sound, phenomenal bitch. I'd like to have another couple like her.
Yeah. And sprinters, while we're on the subject, going through the distances?
A rapid mover, he was a good sprinter. He was a very headstrong dog, you know, bad kenneler and that. He won more than he lost. Going back like the old flapping days, like, I don't think I'll ever have a sprinter like one I had then.
You going to reveal the name, John?
Fawn dog, the bionic dog they call him, you know, 3-legged dog. He had only one good toe and one foot, you know, he always walked lame. He was never ever let out the trap, no matter where he went.
Yeah.
And I think he won his last race when he was about 10.5-year-old.
So he was kept on the go for some time.
He was, like, I never abused the dog. And I don't know, another sprinter.
What about the present day, John? I mean, looking at your kennels at the moment, greyhounds have come and gone, left Ockenden, left your premises, but at the moment it seems to be quite strong. You've got Mr. Southgate patronising you at the moment, and he's got some useful individuals, including Chic Mona and Simple Trend. Would they be the current stars of the kennel?
Well, I think his other little dog, Home Truths, came in with Mr. Gaskin. I run the dog at Wimbledon in the Laurels. The dog wasn't going around corners properly, he was easing on the bends. I checked him out and found a few injuries on him and gave him a bit of treatment. I took him to Nottingham. He'd done a 30.03 first time round there, with a phenomenal run. He beat New Level in the semi-final, led him all the way. It's like, I couldn't believe the run, and he led to the last bend on Saturday night last, in the final of the Eclipse. Got beat 2 lengths. I remember, like, Merlin's Abbey, Exile again, Michael Compton's dog, Corrie Hills, or what do they call him? The Scottish Derby winner.
Glide Away Sam.
Glide Away Sam was finished behind him.
Yeah.
So I think, like, there's better days to come with this little dog.
Yeah.
He's very happy and contented now, and he's running out of his skin. He's going for the Midland Flat Championship next at Hall Green. And I think next season, like, he'll be a better dog still.
Any others in the kennel at the moment, do you think, that can improve on what they've already achieved?
Winsor Vic. He just came into me last week. He's trialling Wednesday at Hall Green for the Midland Flat Championship. I think he's a very, very fast greyhound. I used to have his dam. She won 5 on this turn for me, and I had her, and she went for breeding then. This is one of her pups out of Duke's Lodge. Very, very fast greyhound he is. He was a non-runner in the final of the Irish Puppy Derby. He turned up late. But I think he'll... the best is to come out of him yet. He's just 2-year-old now.
Many people would ask, what is the recipe behind your success? Champion trainer for 3 years in succession. So what is the recipe for your success, John?
You'll only get out what you put in.
So is it long hours?
Long hours, 24 hours a day. Fed well, good bed to sleep on, keep him happy and content. The dog will run for you.
Moving on to the fact that you were runner-up last year, do you think that the Trainers' Championship is worked out equally? Because numerically you were top of the table yet again, but on the point system you finished runner-up to Linda Mullins. I mean, do you have any strong views of how this should be worked out?
I think there should be one table and one table only. It's the same, it's on points. If one person went and won 2, 3 classics in a year with a 1 dog or with 2 dogs, he's champion trainer with 3 winners.
Yeah.
I can go out and produce 200 winners, and I'm nobody.
Yeah.
I think it should be on the winners.
I tend to agree with you, John. I think the harder you work, the more success you should receive. Because obviously you're one of the most travelled trainers in the business. Moving on to another subject, just quickly now, regarding the trusts, the funds that are being talked about, the money that might come into the sport. If that money did materialise, where would you like to see it ploughed into? What kind of area would you like to see?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about this going into it, and we'll have to wait and see if it goes into it. You know, the prize money is pathetic. There's got to be more money put into the prize money. Like, so you can go for a competition, you can go all the way to the final of it after 4 runs, end up with something like 50 quid.
Yeah, but then is it lopsided? I mean, it's a fact that, say, £10,000 to the winner, then let's say the runner-up might get £1,000. Is it just imbalance in prize money?
Well, £500 I got Saturday night for being second.
Yeah.
For winning first round, semi-final, and finishing second is £500. When you take your time and your expenses and everything all out of that, 3 trips to Nottingham, it's just balanced out about even.
Yeah.
You know, so something's got to be done about the prize money. I'd like to see it, something like what they used to have at Romford more, like jackpot races. £100, £150 entry, winner takes all, and let the track add a couple £100 for second, and also runs 50 quid or something like that.
Right.
I think everyone will want to have £100 on the dog, and they're getting good value.
Yeah. But you think the money should be ploughed mainly into prize money rather than things like chromatography, or, I mean, I know chromatography has its failings,
Yes.
but more on the security side, more on the stadiums, looking after the punters. You think more of the money should be ploughed back into prize money?
Yeah, it's definitely into prize money. The chromatography at the moment, I've got no... I can't see anything wrong with that at the moment. They're doing a good job with the way as I say, you don't know where they're going to turn up, when they're going to turn up,
Yeah.
so, which is a good thing really for the sport. But it's definitely the prize money, because you won't get someone go out and give £10,000 for a dog and run at the track for £25, £30 prize money. It's going to take him a long time to get his money back.
Yeah. Does the kennelling procedures upset you at all? Many people say, oh, they have greyhounds that are bad kennellers. Do you think that some of the laws that we have set by the NGRC are too stringent?
Yes. Kennelling, they should do something about it, because at Romford at the moment now, when they started doing the satellite television,
Yeah, the late nights.
the late nights, they're starting at 8 o'clock. They still do the starting at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
They haven't brought it back to 7:30, so you're kenneling at 6 o'clock. And I've had runners over there 10, 10:15 at night.
Yeah.
So like 4 or 5 hours in the kennel is a long time for any dog, especially if it's a bad kenneler.
So do you think a two-tier system or something?
It could do, but like you go to Ryehouse, the permit tracks, Henlow and all them, like you kenneling Peterborough, 7 o'clock kenneling. I don't see why all the tracks couldn't do that.
Yeah. And do they, obviously they do the chromatography beforehand?
Well, there's no crumb at Ryehouse or Peterborough then, but I'd say they'd still have, as you're kenneling your dog, you still got plenty of time to do the crumb.
Right.
If they start the first race at 8:15 and kenneling at 7:15, and strict like 7:15 or 7 to 7:30 is your deadline, your dog's got half a chance if he's a bad kenneler.
Yeah. It seems to me, looking at the sport, that there's a case of maybe too many trainers chasing too few funds.
That's correct, yeah.
So, does something have to be done by regulating the amount of trainers that we have in the country?
Well, you see, there's a lot of races in the calendar there. There's a lot of races I entered for. There's a race at Sunderland there, 2 runs there for only £750 a marathon race. I just read in the paper they only had 2-3 entries for
That's
it.
right.
And then yet people keep on about poor prize money, poor prize money. If you see a race that's 2 runs for £500 or £1,000, you go for it. But when you enter a dog on it, you ring up, you're not in it because they only had 3 entries.
Yeah.
So what do some people really want?
Yeah.
They complain about poor prize money, but yet they don't go for it while it's there.
Do you think it's because I'm just referring back to the time that you couldn't get your own license to train? Do you think nowadays it's too easy for anybody to come into the game with too much money and become a trainer, rather than go through the ranks and become a trainer through being a kennel lad for 4 or 5 years or what have you, then wanting to set up his own establishment?
Yes, I think like it should be the same as if you want a license to drive a car, you've got to go take lessons and go through a test.
Yeah.
Today I think if you built a kennel, applied for a license, bought half a dozen dogs, you've got a license. You don't have to know anything, which I think is all wrong.
Yeah.
People like us, I know, that's been in it for years, like myself for instance, 20 odd years I waited to get a license. I was never ever given the reason why I couldn't have one. But today, like, you see names you've never ever heard of them.
Yeah.
They've been in the game 5 minutes.
Yeah. Moving on to a subject that's been heavily reported in the press, about your future basically, John. You said earlier in the year that you were going to give it all up at the end of the year. However, things seem to have changed. Stuart Southgate put some new greyhounds with you. You just mentioned Winsor Vic is now with you. Is this a change of direction, a change of mind for you perhaps?
That doesn't change the thing. It doesn't matter, like if I have 10 dogs come in for the derby next year and we're going to turn it in, I'll turn it in. There's my boy there, I've learnt him everything he knows. That's all he knows is dogs. He can take over and I'd be at hand if he ever needed me. But as I said, by the end of the year, if there's a track comes up with a contract, I'll accept it. If not, well, I've got to start thinking seriously.
But would you be happy then, being a man who's travelled around, you've obviously strived to be the #1 trainer, would you be happy then just to sit back, receive a contract training job at, let's say, Wembley, Wimbledon, Walthamstow, wherever, one of the big London tracks, and then say, well, goodbye to the open racing? Would you just be happy to churn out grader after grader?
I would, yes. I'd have an occasional open race runners as well, but at least I'd have 3-4 nights a week indoors. There's one night a week I'm in now, Sunday nights, and the phone don't stop ringing, so I'll never get peace.
Yeah. Some positives and some pluses, some positives and some minuses this year. We mentioned that Stuart Southgate's joined you, but of course there has been a rift with Mr. Dean, with Windsor Abbey. He's taken his greyhound away, and it has been noticeable in the past that owners have come and gone, left your establishment and joined your establishment for short periods of looking for success, let's say. But what, are you a hard man to get on with if you're an owner?
I'm not. I like, if a man puts a dog with me, I train the dog to the best of my ability. I think the dog is suited to this distance or that distance. I told Tony Dean I didn't want the dog to run in the Grand Prix, but he listens to everyone. That's his distance, that's his distance. All right, that's his distance. But it's not his distance when he goes another 400 metres to the pickup.
Yeah.
And then he kept telling me the dog at 33 kilos is too heavy for that distance. I trimmed him down to 32.2 for the final. I was proved right. He said the dog was a tired dog. The dog ran a blinder in the semi-final of the Eclipse. He was in front of the pickup against them Plaza dogs. He came in, he took the dog home for a rest. You can take him home for a rest, but I won't be training the dog again.
Right.
I've done it before, and they never got the dogs going for him. They brought him back, and I was successful again with him, but them days are gone.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can use people. I'm not going to be used no more. I look after those that look after me, in other words.
Just referring back to the idea of getting a contract at a major stadium, do you think the reason why you haven't had a contract at the Wimbledons, the Walthamstows, is the fact that you're maybe just too outspoken in the sport?
Well, I speak my mind. A bit hot-headed at times, but I let the dogs do the 99% of the talking for me. But I think it might be what a manager would look at on the paper, the improvement of my dogs coming from other trainers from graded and winning open races. Might be frightened on that part, but what racing manager can't control the trainer? That is his job.